No secretary survived the rude millionaire CEO until a clumsy, stubborn secretary changed everything. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's return to the main character. His name is Ethan Blackwood, and in Manhattan's glass and steel skyline, his name is whispered like a warning. He is the founder and CEO of Blackwood Dynamics, a company valued in the hundreds of millions of dollars, known for ruthless efficiency and zero tolerance for mistakes. In the past 2 years, no secretary has survived working outside his office for more than 14 days. Some lasted a week. One left at lunch and never came back. Another cried silently while packing her desk, cheeks burning as if the walls themselves were watching. HR has stopped pretending this is a coincidence. The elevators know his temper. The hallways brace themselves every morning. Ethan arrives before sunrise, black coffee untouched, shoulders tight, as if he is bracing against an invisible storm, eyes fixed forward, never greeting anyone by name. Inside his office, time feels different, measured in clipped orders and the sharp sound of a pen hitting the desk. Meetings end early, not because decisions are made, but because people cannot breathe in the silence he leaves behind. What no one talks about is the nights he sleeps on the office couch, the lights of the city flickering through the windows like a heartbeat he cannot slow, the way his hands sometimes tremble just enough to spill coffee onto the marble floor. Then, on a rainy Monday, Claire Bennett steps into the building. She is 26, wearing flats that have seen better days, clutching a folder with her resume printed on borrowed ink. She has already been warned 3 times before the interview even starts. The receptionist lowers her voice. The HR manager avoids eye contact. A security guard shakes his head as if she has already been lost. Claire listens, nods, and still signs the paperwork. She needs the job. Her mother's medical bills are stacking up, and quitting is not something she knows how to do. On her first morning, she spills a little coffee on the counter and apologizes to no one in particular. When Ethan Blackwood finally looks up and sees her standing there, his eyes narrow, already prepared to dismiss her. She introduces herself anyway, voice steady, a little too honest, and definitely not impressed. The air tightens. Somewhere down the hall, a phone stops ringing. This is the moment everyone expects her to fail. But Claire does something unexpected. She doesn't rush. She doesn't flinch. She sets the schedule down neatly, asks one clear question about priorities, and waits. The silence stretches. Ethan's jaw tightens. Something in her refusal to be afraid unsettles him, though he would never admit it. He turns back to his screen, dismissing her without a word. Claire exhales quietly, straightens her shoulders, and sits at her desk. She doesn't know it yet, but this is the first morning that changes everything, not because she is perfect, but because she stays. The first week passes like a quiet test no one announces. Claire arrives before 8 every morning, even though her official start time is 9, because the elevators are calmer then and the building feels less like it is holding its breath. She learns quickly that Ethan Blackwood does not yell for the sake of yelling. His words are precise, sharp, and often cold, delivered without raising his voice, which somehow makes them heavier. He does not insult. He corrects. He does not threaten. He replaces. Every mistake feels final, as if there is no version of tomorrow where it gets fixed. Claire makes mistakes anyway. She sends one calendar invite to the wrong conference room. She misfiles a report by 1 digit. She brings coffee with cream on a morning he wanted it black. Each time, she braces herself. Each time, the reaction is not what she expects. Ethan looks at the error, pauses, and turns away. No lecture. No explosion. Just silence, which feels worse. The assistants in neighboring departments watch her like they are counting down days. Claire feels it in the way people lower their voices when she walks by, the way HR avoids scheduling check-ins as if they do not want to get attached. On Thursday evening, long after most of the building has emptied, Claire is still at her desk, updating files and double-checking notes. Ethan is still in his office. The lights are on. The blinds are half open. She notices he has not eaten since the protein bar he left untouched that morning. She hesitates, then orders a simple sandwich from the cafe downstairs before it closes, placing it quietly on the corner of his desk with a note that reads, "You have a meeting in the morning." Eating helps. She expects it to end there. The next morning, the wrapper is gone. The note is folded once, neatly, and placed back on her desk without comment. Over the next few days, she begins to notice patterns others have missed. Ethan always schedules high-stakes meetings late in the afternoon, when the light fades and the city grows quieter. He never books lunch. He drinks too much coffee and too little water. When the office printer jams, his shoulders tense as if the room has suddenly become smaller. Claire adjusts without asking. She blocks 15 minutes between meetings so there is space to breathe. She keeps a glass of water within reach. She fixes the printer before he notices. When he snaps one morning about an investor call running long, she simply says, "I will handle it," and does. Her voice does not shake. It surprises both of them. One night, rain streaks down the windows, and thunder rolls faintly between buildings. Ethan stands frozen in the doorway of his office, hand on the frame, breathing shallow, eyes unfocused. Claire looks up and understands without being told. She does not ask questions. She lowers the lights, closes the blinds, and sits at her desk, typing softly so the room does not feel empty. Minutes pass, then more. Finally, Ethan steps back inside, loosens his tie, and sits. He does not thank her. He does not apologize. But the tension in the room eases, just a little. That night, as Claire rides the subway home, exhaustion settling into her bones, she reminds herself why she is here. Not because this man is powerful, not because the job is impressive, but because she recognizes the look in his eyes, the one that says someone has been surviving instead of living for far too long. She does not know how long she will last. No one ever does. But tomorrow morning, she will show up again. By the second week, Claire stops counting. The days. Time inside Blackwood Dynamics does not move in neat blocks anyway. It stretches and compresses based on Ethan's moods, the weight of meetings, the way silence fills the space between words. Claire adapts by building quiet routines no one asks for. She prints the agenda twice, one for the meeting room and one for Ethan's desk, because he reads faster when he does not have to look for it. She schedules calls with a 5-minute buffer, never explaining why. She learns the exact moment when the city noise outside the windows peaks and lowers the blinds just enough to soften it. Ethan notices everything and acknowledges nothing. But something is changing. He starts leaving his office door open. Just a crack. Enough to hear her typing. Enough to know someone is there. One afternoon, a junior executive storms out of a meeting, frustrated, voice raised just enough to echo down the hall. The tension snaps back into the building like a rubber band. Claire watches Ethan's hands curl into fists. His breathing shortens. She steps into the doorway without asking and says calmly that the next call has been moved up and she will handle the follow-up. It is not true. She makes it true. Ethan looks at her for a long second, eyes sharp, searching for something he does not name. He nods once. That night, he stays later than usual. So does she. The cleaning crew passes twice. The city outside glows dark blue. Ethan finally speaks without looking up. "You do not have to stay." Claire answers honestly. "I know." She stays anyway. The next morning, HR sends an email requesting a performance review. Claire reads it twice. No one has ever made it this far. She walks into the meeting room expecting a verdict. Instead, she hears numbers. Productivity is up. Missed deadlines are down. Complaints have stopped. The HR manager looks confused, almost disappointed. Claire signs the form and returns to her desk, heart steady, shoulders squared. She does not celebrate. She knows better. That afternoon, Ethan asks a question he has never asked anyone before. "Are you planning to quit?" Claire blinks, surprised by the lack of accusation in his voice. "No," she says simply. "Unless you ask me to." He does not respond. But later, when a document goes missing and tension rises again, he does not assume the worst. He waits. Claire finds the file where it was always supposed to be and hands it to him without comment. He exhales, long and slow, like someone remembering how. That evening, as rain taps against the glass, Ethan stands by the window, watching traffic crawl below. He says, quietly, almost to himself, "You do not flinch." Claire does not pretend she does not hear him. She answers just as quietly, "I learned a long time ago that staying calm helps other people breathe." He turns toward her then, Really looks at her, not as a role or a position, but as a person who has chosen to stay. For the first time since she arrived, the office does not feel like a battlefield. It feels like a room where something fragile has been set down and not broken. The third week does not begin gently. It begins with pressure. A quarterly board review looms, and the building tightens around it. Emails multiply. Voices sharpen. Ethan's schedule fills until there is no visible space left, meetings stacked like bricks. Claire feels the shift immediately. The quiet routines she built are tested by urgency, by outside expectations pushing in. Ethan grows distant again, not angry, but sealed off. Eyes darker, jaw set. He stops sleeping in the office couch and starts sleeping nowhere at all. One morning, he snaps without warning. A minor error in a report, a number transposed, nothing that cannot be fixed. But the words land hard. He tells her she should know better. He tells her efficiency matters. He tells her this company cannot afford softness. The hallway goes silent. Someone nearby pretends not to hear. Claire feels the heat rise in her chest, the familiar instinct to apologize, to shrink. Instead, she breathes. She does not raise her voice. She does not cry. She says she will correct it and asks if he wants the revision before or after the meeting. Ethan freezes. The answer does not come immediately. He turns away, dismissing her with a sharp gesture. The rest of the day passes in fragments. Claire does her work. Ethan does not speak to her again. That night, the rain returns, steady and relentless. Claire finishes late, her desk the last light on the floor. As she gathers her things, she hears a sound she has not heard before. A sharp intake of breath from Ethan's office. Then another. She hesitates at the doorway. He is standing by the window again, but this time his hands are pressed flat against the glass, shoulders rigid, breath shallow and uneven. The city lights blur beyond him. Claire does not touch him. She does not ask what is wrong. She turns off the overhead lights, leaving only the desk lamp on, soft and low. She sits in the chair across the room and speaks quietly about nothing important. The weather, a train delay, a sandwich place that stayed open too late. Slowly, the room steadies. Ethan's breathing slows. He sinks into the chair, head bowed, tie loosened, the edge of control slipping just enough to show what it costs him. I warned you, he says at last, voice rough. I am not easy. Claire does not argue. I know, she says. There is a long pause. You should have left, he adds. Everyone else did. Claire looks at him then, really looks, and answers with the truth. Leaving does not fix what is broken. Staying sometimes does. The words hang between them, not as a challenge, but as an offering. Ethan closes his eyes. For the first time since she met him, he does not hide. He admits, quietly, that nights are the worst, that his mind does not stop, that trust feels dangerous, that control is the only thing that keeps the past from crashing back in. Claire listens. She does not promise to save him. She does not promise anything at all. She simply says she will be there tomorrow morning, like always. When she finally leaves, the city feels different, less heavy. And back in the office, alone again, Ethan sits in the quiet she has left behind, realizing that for the first time in years, the silence does not feel like an enemy. The days after that night unfold differently, not louder, not softer, but steadier. Ethan begins arriving a little later in the morning, just after 9, as if he has finally slept more than an hour at a time. Claire notices first, because she always does. He still drinks coffee, but he finishes the glass of water she places beside it. He still closes his office door during calls, but he opens it again afterward. Small changes, almost invisible, but real. During meetings, he pauses before speaking, considering instead of cutting in. When a presentation runs long, he does not blame the person at the table. He asks one question and listens to the answer. The board review arrives, sharp and demanding, but it does not crush the room the way everyone expects. Ethan speaks clearly, without edge, without performance. Claire sits just outside the room, monitoring schedules, feeling the unfamiliar calm in her chest. When the meeting ends, board members leave with nods instead of tension. One of them glances at Claire with curiosity, as if noticing her for the first time. Later that afternoon, Ethan asks her to reschedule a call. He says please. The word lands between them like something fragile. Claire does not comment. She updates the calendar and keeps working. That evening, a power outage briefly dims the floor, emergency lights humming on. Ethan stiffens instinctively, breath hitching, shoulders rising. Claire is already there, voice steady, saying it is temporary. Backup generators are running, everything is fine. He exhales. His hands do not shake this time. He looks at her with something close to disbelief. You knew what to do, he says. Claire answers simply. I paid attention. Over the next week, he begins eating lunch. Not every day, but often enough to matter. He takes a short walk outside once, coat on, hands in pockets, the city loud and alive around him. Claire watches from the window, a small smile she does not realize she is wearing. Then comes the moment that surprises them both. A junior analyst makes a mistake during a review, voice trembling as she explains. The room braces. Ethan looks at the numbers, then at the person across from him. He does not raise his voice. He says the mistake is fixable and asks how to prevent it next time. The analyst nods, stunned. Claire feels something settle into place inside her. That night, Ethan stays late again, but not alone. He asks Claire if she wants tea from the break room. She says yes, surprised. They sit in the quiet office, not talking much, just sharing the space. Ethan admits, without drama, that the nights are still hard, but not unbearable. That the noise in his head quiets faster when he knows someone will be there in the morning. Claire listens, careful not to turn this into something it is not. She does not promise permanence. She promises consistency. As she leaves, he thanks her, not for the work, but for staying. Claire walks home under clear skies, the city sharp and bright. Knowing this is the turning point. Not because he is healed, but because he is healing, and because for the first time, he believes that change does not have to be loud to be real. The shift happens quietly, without announcement, the way real confessions always do. It is a late afternoon when the city light slants low and gold across the office, and the pace is slowed enough for silence to return without tension. Claire is organizing files when Ethan asks her to sit, not as an order, but as a request. She does, hands folded loosely in her lap, waiting without expectation. He does not speak right away. He watches the traffic below, the steady movement that never asks permission. Finally, he says her name, carefully, as if trying it out. Claire looks up. He tells her he has not always been like this. That once, he trusted easily. He built the company with someone he called family, someone who knew every weakness, every fear. When the betrayal came, it was not loud. It was clean, professional, hidden inside paperwork and signatures. He lost control in a way no headline ever mentioned. Overnight, the world felt unsafe. Control became survival. Distance became armor. He explains it without drama, without asking for sympathy. He says the nights never really stopped replaying, that his body learned fear faster than his mind could catch up. Claire listens, still and present. She does not interrupt. She does not tell him it will be okay. She waits until he finishes. Then she says something simple. What happened to you is not your fault. The words land harder than any accusation ever has. Ethan exhales slowly, shoulders dropping as if they have been held too high for too long. He admits he pushed people away because it was easier than risking being wrong again. That anger felt safer than hope. Claire nods, understanding more than she says. She tells him she stayed not because she wanted to fix him, but because she saw someone trying to survive in a way that no longer worked. She tells him healing does not mean forgetting. It means choosing differently when the past knocks. Ethan closes his eyes, absorbing that. For the first time, he asks her a question that has nothing to do with work. Why did you learn to stay calm like that? Claire hesitates, then answers honestly. Her life taught her that panic spreads, but steadiness gives people room to breathe. She does not elaborate. She does not need to. The room holds the truth without details. After that day, something settles into place between them, not intimacy, but trust. Ethan begins delegating without hovering. He allows meetings to end without control. He acknowledges when he is overwhelmed instead of hiding it. Claire maintains her routines, unchanged, grounding. One morning, he laughs quietly at a mistake that would once have ruined someone's week. The sound surprises them both. It is brief, real. Claire smiles and returns to her work. The building responds. People speak more freely. Creativity returns in small ways. The company does not become softer, but it becomes human. Late one evening, as Claire packs up to leave, Ethan thanks her again, this time for listening. She answers that listening is easy when someone finally tells the truth. As she steps into the elevator, she understands something clearly. This is no longer about surviving a job. This is about witnessing a man choosing to step out from behind the walls he built, one honest moment at a time. The weeks that follow feel like a quiet rebuilding, not dramatic, but intentional. Ethan begins restructuring the company in ways that reflect what he has learned rather than what he fears. He creates clearer boundaries, distributes authority, and insists that leaders take responsibility without intimidation. Claire supports the changes without seeking credit, refining systems, mentoring new assistants, and maintaining the steady presence that has become the rhythm of the office. One evening, Ethan asks her to stay after hours, not with urgency, but with purpose. He tells her he has been thinking about what leadership should look like when it is not driven by fear. He asks her opinion, not as a test, but as a genuine request. Claire offers thoughtful insight, practical and human, reminding him that people perform best when they feel seen. Ethan listens, nodding, absorbing each word. The next day, he announces a new initiative focused on mentorship and internal growth, crediting the team rather than himself. The response is immediate. Morale rises. Ideas surface. The building feels alive in a way it has not in years. Late one afternoon, Ethan hands Claire a folder. Inside is a proposal for a new role, one that expands her responsibilities beyond the traditional boundaries of a secretary. It is a position built around coordination, culture, and trust, tailored to her strengths. He tells her there is no pressure, that he understands if she prefers to remain where she is. Claire reads the proposal carefully, feeling the weight of the moment. She looks up and asks one question. Will this change how you see me? Ethan answers without hesitation. It will change how everyone sees you, but not how I do. Claire accepts, not with excitement, but with confidence. That evening, they leave the building together, stepping into the city air, the lights warm and steady. They walk a block in silence before Ethan speaks. He tells her he has started sleeping through the night more often. He tells her the memories still come, but they no longer control him. Claire listens, proud but careful, understanding that healing is ongoing. She tells him she never stayed for a promise of change, only for the willingness to try. Ethan stops walking and turns to her. He says he does not know what the future looks like, but he knows he does not want to face it alone. Claire considers this, feeling the honesty in his words. She tells him she values what they have built, that trust matters more than titles or assumptions. He nods, relieved by her clarity. As they part ways, the city humming around them, both understand that something has shifted permanently. Not into romance yet, not into certainty, but into possibility grounded in respect. Back at the office the next morning, nothing feels rushed. The work continues, steady and purposeful. Ethan watches Claire lead with calm authority, and Claire sees Ethan guide without fear. Together, they have reshaped not just a company, but the way two guarded people choose to show up in the world. The transformation is not complete, but it is real, and it is enough. The final change arrives on an ordinary morning, the kind that once would have passed without notice. The office hums softly, people moving with purpose, voices steady, no longer braced for impact. Ethan stands by the window as Claire finishes reviewing the day's schedule, the city below alive and familiar. He turns to her and asks if she has time later. Not for a meeting, not for work, just time. Claire studies his face, the openness there, and agrees. That evening, they walk through a quiet park a few blocks from the office, the air cool, the paths lit by soft lamps. There is no rush. Ethan speaks first, telling her that he has learned something he never expected. That strength did not come from control, but from allowing himself to be seen. He tells her that she changed his life not by fixing him, but by staying honest and present when it mattered most. Claire listens, heart steady, understanding the weight of what he is offering. She tells him she never planned to change him, only to do her job with integrity. That staying became a choice, not an obligation. Ethan stops walking and faces her fully. He tells her he does not want to return to who he was before. He wants a future built on trust, patience, and truth, with her beside him if she chooses. Claire considers the journey they have shared, the boundaries respected, the growth earned. She tells him she values partnership, not rescue, and that love should feel like safety, not sacrifice. Ethan nods, relief and hope mixing in his expression. He reaches for her hand, slowly, giving her time to decide. Claire takes it, not as a leap, but as a step forward. Back at the office days later, the change is visible. They work together seamlessly, equal voices, shared respect. The company thrives, not because fear is gone, but because trust has taken its place. One evening, as the building empties and the lights dim, Ethan asks Claire to stay one more moment. He tells her he wants her not just in his life, but in his future, openly and honestly. Claire smiles, the answer clear. She agrees, on the condition that they keep choosing each other with the same care they learn to show themselves. Ethan promises, knowing the promise matters because it is lived, not spoken. The city continues outside, unaware of the quiet commitment made within it. And for the first time, the story does not end with survival, but with two people standing together, healed enough to begin.